Hey. Time for the Out of This World story from rSpace. Today on rSpace, grab a coffee, because this one has everything. Disappearing acts, the worst lie you've ever heard, an old flame named Carson, of course, and a reminder that if you fake your own temporary death for an affair, the fallout is going to be loud. My wife vanished for a full day, and I forced her to admit to her affair. I did everything to ruin her life. I, 32 male, have been married to Lisa, 31 female, for 4 years. I don't want to sound cliche, but I really did think that we had a good marriage. Obviously, it wasn't perfect, but we were on good terms 95% of the time. And for me, that was good enough. Sadly for me, I found out that I was the fool in the couple. I was the one who thought that things were good when they were very far from that. The whole thing fell apart a few days ago, and I'm still trying to recover from it. I am not a possessive man, but I do try to know where my wife is at all times. It's for her safety. If she's going to a friend's place after work, I'd love to know that, because if something happens, I can figure out where to start from. It makes a lot of sense to me, and for the longest time, she understood that. There was a Saturday when she told me that she wanted to pay a visit to her friend who lived about an hour away from us. I was fine with that, and she left pretty early in the day, around 9 a.m. She told me when she got there about an hour later, and because they're pretty good friends, I expected that she'd be there until the evening. I didn't bother checking in on her because of that. It was only when it was about 5 p.m. that I sent a message to ask when she'd be on her way back, as well as ask what she'd like to have for dinner. I didn't get a reply. I sent another message 5 minutes later, and still nothing. She doesn't like driving at night, so I knew it wouldn't make sense for her to leave any later than that time. I was sending those messages. I was worried enough that I called her, and the phone just rang and rang. I tried to reach out to her on different social media platforms, but still nothing. I tried to check her location, but the feature was disabled, and at that point, I became extremely concerned. By 6:30 or so, I tried to call her, and her phone was switched off. I had to stop myself from rushing to the police because it felt like I hadn't tried every option to get to her. I knew the friend she was going to visit, but I didn't have her number. Thankfully for me, I was able to find her on Instagram, and I sent her a message to ask if Lisa was still at her place. She told me that Lisa had left around 3 p.m., which was really worrying to me. She hadn't sent a message to tell me that she was on her way back. If she had been, she would have gotten back home long before the first message I sent. Her friend, Natalie, tried to call her, but only got voicemail too. She tried to send a message, but she got no reply. I asked if she had any idea where Lisa might have gone, but she said she had no idea, because she gave the impression that she was headed back to me. I didn't know what to do, so I just got in my car and drove the 1 hour to Natalie's side of town. I stopped by her house to ask some questions, but she genuinely didn't seem to know anything. She even showed me pictures they had taken when Lisa was around, showing that that part was true. She had replied to a message from Natalie at 4:12 p.m. after she had left, yet she hadn't chosen to send a message to me to tell me she was coming back home. I was so worried that something had happened to her, so I went straight to the police station in that part of town. Natalie was enough of a sweetheart to follow me to the police station, where I reported her missing. There weren't any reports of major accidents along the highway, and the minor accidents didn't match Lisa's name. They also said that if any cars had been broken down since 5 p.m., they likely would have received assistance by then. They asked me so many questions about her, and I answered them all as accurately as I could. They told me they would start investigating, but it'd be best if I headed home in case she returned. It was tough, because it genuinely felt like I was doing nothing at home. But I did. I was losing my mind. I kept checking all my social media. If her phone was dead, she could borrow someone else's phone to send a message to my account to explain what had happened. But there was nothing like that. I really started to think the worst. I assumed that she might have been kidnapped, or her car had veered off the road somewhere where it might be harder to find. I couldn't stop the bad thoughts from swirling around in my head. It was horrible. I stuck around in the living room because I wanted to wait in case she somehow managed to return in the middle of the night. I didn't think I would be able to sleep, but somehow I was able to doze off, likely because of all the driving I had to do. I woke up to a sound at some point when it was only just starting to be bright outside. It didn't take me long to realize that someone was trying to open the door, and I sat up immediately because I knew it had to be Lisa. When she opened the door, it was her. I immediately asked her where she had been, and she jumped when she saw me and heard my voice. She followed that with a nervous, "Hey babe," as if nothing had happened. I immediately walked up to her and hugged her, because I was just so glad to see her. I had already thought of the absolute worst, and I didn't know what had happened. At that point, I was still thinking that it hadn't been her fault and some kind of unfortunate circumstance had led her to coming back so late. She said she just wanted to have a drink of water first, so I let her. I was really holding myself back from quizzing her while that was happening. I quickly messaged Natalie to let her know that Lisa had turned up. When she was done, she turned towards me. I didn't push her because I knew she was going to have to tell me what had happened. She claimed it had been such unfortunate circumstances. She claimed that she had left Natalie's place around 5 p.m. I knew that wasn't true, but I didn't say anything because I assumed she might just have gotten things mixed up. She claimed that she had taken the wrong exit off the highway and her phone died. She couldn't figure out how to get back on her route, and because it was getting dark, she started to panic. Her car charger supposedly wasn't working either, so she couldn't juice her phone back up. She said she stopped at the nearest hotel and just had to crash there for the night. She apologized for making me worry. Under normal circumstances, I might have believed everything she said if I hadn't been looking for her. I sat there for a bit, trying to digest it all before I accused her of lying to me. It didn't take long for me to realize that it just didn't make sense. Unless she hadn't been using her brain, most of it didn't make sense. She knew my phone number. She knew my handles. She easily would have found someone to borrow their phone for a minute or two to let me know she was fine. It also didn't make sense that her car charger wasn't working because I bought it less than a year ago, and it's from a good brand. She also claimed she left her friend's house at 5, but that was obviously off by 2 hours, so it was hard to assume she had just been mistaken about that. I decided to be the worst person in the world for a minute and tell her that I didn't believe her. Her mouth dropped open. I told her that I had been frightened and I expected something really horrible had happened to her, so I had done everything I could to figure out where she was. I told her that I had already spoken to Natalie, and she told me that she had left her place at 3 p.m. As I expected, she told me that she was probably mistaken about the time, she said. I told her I didn't believe it because 3 and 5 were so off, and it would have been easy to know the difference between leaving in the afternoon and leaving at the start of the evening. She didn't have much to say at that. She just maintained that she must have been mistaken. I pointed out that her Find My had been switched off. She acted like I was stupid by emphasizing that her phone had been dead. I laughed at that because I know that it doesn't matter, and I pointed that out. She didn't have anything to say to that. I made sure she was clear that I believed she had turned it off intentionally. I pointed out that she could have used anyone's phone to call me or reached out to me over social media. It didn't make sense that she didn't think of me once during her whole ordeal, especially to let me know that she was fine. I deserved to know that. She claimed it hadn't occurred to her amidst all of her worry. I told her I wasn't stupid, and neither was she. It certainly would have occurred to her to find a way to contact me and make sure I didn't worry. I let her know I had reported her missing, and she gasped. She asked why I did that, and I said it was obvious why. I thought something had happened to her. Natalie had had no idea what happened to her either. She whispered that she had been telling the truth about everything that had happened to her. I told her she hadn't been, and I wanted to know the truth. I was very assertive when I said that. I knew that if she was really telling the truth, she'd fight back more, especially if I was implying that she was lying. But she was cowering. She's not a wimp. Under normal circumstances, she'd fight for herself. She didn't do it this time. I told her that I was going to lose my mind if she didn't decide to tell me the truth. I already knew that something else was going on, and at that point, I had already considered the worst, which was that she had been cheating on me with someone. I didn't suggest it. I wanted her to say it herself. I knew there couldn't be anything else to it. "Promise me you're not going to get mad at me, please?" That was the confirmation I needed to know that she had been lying. I was smart enough to start recording our conversation at that point. I knew I would need it. I told her I couldn't promise that, but the quicker she got it out, the more likely that I wouldn't lose my head. She took a breath and told me that she was going to admit it, but she asked me to sit down. So I did. She hesitated for a long time, and when I stood up aggressively, she begged and told me she'd talk. I let her know that I was losing my patience. That was when she finally admitted to it all. She had gone to see a man, exactly as I expected. She claimed that she hadn't planned to see him when she left the house that morning. She said that he had moved to that side of town relatively recently, and she decided to message him to say hi. She also claimed that when she had sent the message, she had no intentions to meet up with him. But that part I definitely didn't believe. One way or another, he invited her to his house, and she turned up. I immediately asked if it was Carson, and she didn't say anything, so I knew it was him. He wasn't what I'd call an ex, because they never dated. They had a thing, though. It was never defined, but when she was telling me the stories of him, I could tell she really loved him at that time. My head felt hot when I figured that out, because I never liked the guy. She said that she knew it was better to say nothing than to tell me who she had gone to see. She knew that she was meant to tell me something, but she couldn't figure out a lie in that time, so she just chose to go off the grid because she would be able to figure something out later. I hated how much she had taken me for granted, that she didn't think it was a big deal to vanish and make me worry my butt off because she wanted to see her old lover. She'd been married to me for 4 years, but she had no problem doing that. It is hard to describe the emotions you feel when you figure out how little someone cares about cheating on you. It's beyond pain. I asked her what had happened, and she admitted that they had slept together, but she claimed that she regretted it immediately and nothing happened for the rest of the night. I told her I didn't believe that, and even if it was true, it didn't change much. I told her she had to leave. She would be better off going back to where she came from. I refused to sit around and let someone who had been so unfaithful to me remain in the house that I had done the most work getting for us. She pleaded with me to let her make it up to me. I asked how, and she said she didn't know, but she would figure it out. I made it clear to her that there was nothing that would win back my trust at this point. She had destroyed the bond we had by sleeping with someone else and doing it in the worst possible way. I was done. I repeated that she had to leave, and even though she started to cry, she eventually got up and went to the bedroom. By the time it was fully bright outside, she came out with a suitcase she had packed. She wanted to hug me, but I refused to accept it. She left the house without another word, and she hasn't been back since then. I'm glad, and I hope that the only other time she comes into this house is to pick up the rest of her stuff. I made sure to let the police know that she had turned up. I also had her served with the divorce papers. All that's left now is for us to make the split official, and I can't wait for that. Even though I don't see her, the idea that I'm still tied to her stresses me out a lot. Update. Hey everyone, I'm back with an update. And while it might not be good news for Lisa, it is full of good news for me. I never claimed to be a great person, and I'm glad that I was able to lean into that to pay her back for the way that she ruined my life. The first thing that I have to talk about is our divorce. It was very surprising to me that she wanted us to negotiate so that things could be over quickly. It was exactly because I saw that she wanted that I chose not to let things end quickly. I made sure we couldn't agree, so we took things to court. It worked in my favor there. I was able to keep the house, which was what I wanted the most. There's alimony, which wasn't surprising, considering she earns a lot less than me. But because we've been married for such a short amount of time, I don't need to worry about paying for that for a painfully long time, and that's good enough for me. We split the rest of our assets down the middle, but I don't care too much about those. After the divorce, she came to get the rest of her things from the house, and that went smoothly enough. The moment she was done, I decided to strike and make her life hell. The first thing that I did was make sure that everyone knew the kind of person she is. If someone can cheat on their husband in such a premeditated manner, they're not the kind of person who you can trust. It was a public service for me to make sure that people were well aware of that. I started with her family and friends. I sent all of them messages to make it clear the kind of person she was. I had the voice recording. I had all the details, including my texts to Lisa and my texts to Natalie. I even had the proof that I had filed a police report that she was missing. All of it came together to make it clear that I was telling the absolute truth. There were so many different reactions, which wasn't surprising. Some people loved it because it was gossip. Her closer family and friends were angry that I was exposing her. A lot of people were sympathetic towards my plight. I had enough people who weren't on her side for me to know that it had been worth it. For the people who I knew who were there to hear the latest gossip, I made sure to slyly encourage them to spread the word. I need everyone to know the kind of person she is. That's why I also made sure to post the same message on the neighborhood page. Even though she's no longer here, if I found out her new neighborhood, I'll post it there too. The worst messages that I received in response to her story were screenshotted, made anonymous, and sent back to her. I wanted her to see what people thought of her. At least if she hears it from more than just me, she'll realize how much of a piece of crap she is. The fun part was me sending it anonymously to a bunch of people at her workplace. I didn't expect them to fire her. I knew that would be hoping for too much, especially because it had nothing to do with her ability to work. It did bring enough scrutiny on her that she chose to leave on her own accord. I found that out because she came to the house to make a scene. I didn't open the door, but she was telling me that she had to move away because I had chosen to ruin her life. I really wanted to retort and tell her she had done it all to herself, but I chose not to engage her because I felt like she had nothing to lose in that moment. I'm not about to let her pull a knife on me or something. As far as I know, she skipped town. She'll go and set up somewhere far away from the drama that she created for herself. She was a bad person, and I chose to let everyone know that so they can make the right decisions when they have to interact with her. I know some people will say that I took it too far, but if you went through the pain that I went through, you'd understand that Lisa didn't deserve any better than she got. If I could have done worse, I might have. I wanted to go for Carson, but I genuinely didn't want to give him that much of my time and attention. Cheating is never worth it. That's the bottom line. Don't ruin what you've built with years and years of your life for an instant of pleasure. Lisa sold everything we had for that. And I'm glad that it didn't end in a fairy tale for her. She needed a bad ending, and she got it. Vanishing and letting your spouse think you're dead while you're hooking up with an old flame is next level cruel. There's no version of that when the panic you caused doesn't matter. And honestly, the lie was insultingly bad. Wrong exit, dead phone, broken charger, mysterious hotel, amnesia about time? Like, at least commit to the lie. Toss in aliens, a time loop, anything. When people clutch their pearls about going too far, I think they're skipping over the part where you were sitting at home genuinely wondering if your wife had been kidnapped or killed. She emotionally terrorized you, whether she intended to or not. Once someone crosses that line, the usual rules about playing nice don't really apply anymore. What do you think? And thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. Until next time.